Welcome, and thank you all very much for joining us for the fourth episode of YCP's new virtual monthly series, Refiner's Fire. I'm Peter Blute, and it's my pleasure to be your host today. I have the privilege of working at YCP's national office as vice president. I'm very excited to be joining you for this awesome topic of the power of habit. Every month, Catholic business leaders from diverse industries will share professional and spiritual wisdom in short 30-minute live segments. That's why we're calling this a micro interview series. In spite of the short length of these segments, we hope the tips and insights will be really powerful for all of us as we strive to work and witness for Christ this year. So let's talk briefly about the name of this series, Refiner's Fire. The phrase actually comes from scripture, from Malachi chapter 3, verse 2, where we learn that God is, quote, like a refiner's fire, who seeks to purify us and make us the best we can be. And that's the whole point of this series. Through the inspiration and wisdom of these exceptional Catholic leaders, we'll be challenged to improve in small ways and maybe large ways as well in our professional and spiritual lives. Topics each month will be really relevant and helpful, like how to improve your public speaking, how to improve your professional etiquette, or what it means to practice executive presence. So let's be open to this journey of refinement so that in everything we do it aiming for that higher standard of excellence that gives glory to God. Our topic this month is the power of habit. And what does that really mean? Well, the power of habit contains an exhilarating argument. The key to exercising regularly, losing weight, being more productive, and achieving success is understanding how habits work. You hear this when it comes to your spiritual growth too. That it takes discipline for prayer and reflection time to become a habit in the midst of your busy schedule. Virtues like prudence, justice, temperance, and courage are habits. And if we develop good habits, we are then becoming more virtuous and overall better people. This impacts all aspects of your life, including your work and how you perform it. And I can't think of a better person to speak about this topic than our guest today, Lieutenant General Stephen Quast. Steve is the President and Chief Global Officer for Genesis Systems, a company dedicated to solving the global water scarcity problem. He is a retired Air Force Lieutenant General who has spent his lifetime mastering the art of peaceful international affairs and national security strategies. He was raised in a remote African tribe and is a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy with a degree in astronautical engineering. He has a master's degree in public policy from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government and was the university president for the Air Force University in Montgomery, Alabama. He's a decorated fighter pilot who has commanded forces in the military at every level and has extensive combat experience in every major operation since 1986. He's married to the former Joni McDonough, and they have 2 children. Welcome, Steve. We're thrilled to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it and looking forward to the conversation.
Good. Well, let's go ahead and get right to it here. So as professionals, why should this topic really matter to us? And what about as Catholics?
Well, ultimately, the question about how our life is useful to God's will is central to everything we do, because we all want to stand before our Maker someday and hear those words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And for many of us, it might feel daunting, as we look at our heroes through history and think about all of the great examples of leaders who have done beautiful things for God's people and for God's will on this earth. It can feel like it's too much. But the power of habit is the fact that each of you can be a hero in your life where you achieve your full potential. And it's really not that hard to do if you just pay attention to what you are doing each day and you build a habit that becomes your character. So that's the fun of this conversation, is giving some practical meat to that. And it's something that I've been lucky enough to practice my life. And so I have some fun examples of how easy it really is to achieve great things when you look back on it, you think, wow, that's impossible. But when you take it one day at a time, it's achievable.
So just to dig a little deeper into this, why does the power of habit and working and forming habits, why is it really important to you personally?
Well, it's because the problems in this world are big, and one of the things we know through as God teaches us in the Bible is that nothing is possible on our own. Everything is possible through God, and God does not ask us to be perfect. He chose in Moses, for example, a man that was a murderer, a stutterer, an outcast, and who had great doubt. And he led God's people out of Egypt. And so God shows his power by working through average people that do extraordinary things. But the power of habit is that it is baked into how God made us and the sinful nature of this world. And all the clues are there in the Bible, the habits we need to be effective people on this planet for each other and for God. And it's because the way God built us and the way sin has cascaded upon us, it kind of goes like this. If my son steals a cookie out of the cookie jar, I don't say, son, stop being a thief, stop stealing. I have a conversation. I say, son, what you think becomes something you might try and do. Something you try and do and nobody catches you, you're going to do again. Something you do again and again becomes a habit. That habit becomes your character, and that character shapes your destiny. So, son, I'm not going to tell you to stop stealing cookies. I'm going to say, stop thinking about something you know is wrong, because that thought cascades into your destiny. And so the reverse is true too. Your destiny can be great if you focus on the little things and create a habit of doing the right thing, starting with what you are thinking in your brain.
Well, if that isn't good enough reason for us to pay attention to these small little things, actions, and habits that we're forming each day, then I don't know what is. Let's talk a little bit more about maybe a couple areas of our life. So our personal life, our spiritual life, our professional life. So how have habits impacted maybe some or all of those areas of your own life?
Yeah, so this is really a great question, because most people will say, well, yeah, it's easy to say habits are powerful, but what do I do? What do I do today, tonight? And so through my years of leadership in the military, of large and small organizations, I found something very useful that I want to share with everybody listening, because you can start doing it today and it fits on your hand. Okay, the 5 pillars of performance. These are the 5 habits that you need to practice every single day. And at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, did I do these 5 things? And so it's pretty simple. Let's start with getting enough sleep. God created this human body to require sleep. It's not for the physical, it's for the emotional, the intellectual, it's for your brain. If you don't get enough sleep every night, you diminish everything from your judgment to your energy to your lack of worry. God says, be not anxious. Every time we worship, we are reminded, do not worry, be happy, and don't be anxious, because God has got this. Yet we worry ourselves sick every day over all kinds of things. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to worry. And so these are the 5 habits, starting with get enough sleep every night. And you got to be viciously disciplined about this, because the tyranny of life and your iPhone and your smart devices and people on the East Coast and the West Coast all wanting a piece of your time. But believe me, it's actually not hard to have this habit of saying no and going to sleep and going to bed at the same time every night, getting up at the same time every day. Everybody in your life, more importantly you. So this is the first habit. Get enough sleep every night. On your fist, the 5 habits of power and prosperity. The second habit, treat your body like the temple that it is, meaning drink enough water, eat healthy food, don't overeat, don't overdrink. All of these habits that creep into society, where we eat food that we know is not healthy for us, or we don't drink enough water. So be healthy physically and treat your body as the temple that it is. Do not denigrate or disgrace the body. And again, the Bible is full of all the guidance on how you do that. And so that's the second habit that is practical. You can do every single day. And then the third is get physical activity every single day. God made our bodies where the harder we work our body, the harder it works for you. And that with a caveat of don't get injured. In other words, don't work your body like oftentimes we do. You see the guy or gal in the gym, lifting weights that are well beyond what it should be. It's not about looking good. It's about being good. So get a workout somehow every day, whether it's walking or riding a bike or whatever. And you can couple this with some of the other habits too, like that we'll get to in a second. But getting physical activity every day is really important for your intellect, for your peace of mind, for stress relief, and for all the other things that God needs your body to be healthy and strong to move forward. And then I'll get to the last two here. And the next is be quiet every single day. I don't care if it's in the morning, in the evening, whenever it's right for you. You need to be still so that God can talk to you. And you can be still and do things like reading, bringing outside ideas so you're more creative. But you need to detach from all the technology that just pounds into the day. You need to carve out time to be silent with your maker. And then the fifth, so that's four of them, so get enough sleep, be healthy in your body, everything you put into it, and work out every day, be quiet and still so God can speak to you and you can speak to God. And then the last one, and this is so important, and this is the reason I keep it as the last one, make time to build friendships every single day. It can be with your church, your work, your sports, but we need each other. We need to belong to a group that we feel bonded to. And you want to choose carefully, build relationships with people who have the same values as you have, so that these are biblical values that are anchored in what God has taught us. Those are the 5 principles. If you make the habit every day of not thinking about, okay, I'm going to have a drink tonight of alcohol because that would be fun. Don't even think about it, because that thought will become action, which will become habit, which will become destiny, and you die an alcoholic. The habit, the power of habit, negative and positive. You do these 5 things every day. You think about it. Did I work out today? Did I get enough sleep? Did I feed my body healthy things and enough water? Was I quiet and meditative? And did I build friendships? You do those 5 simple habits and your life will transform.
Awesome, Steve. I love it. So, your schedule, I'm sure, is extraordinarily packed, right? I mean, you have a very impressive background and experience, and I'm sure you're called on often to be involved in a lot of different things. But since you have these 5 pillars, I imagine you've built them into your life in ways that have become habits, so you can all but guarantee they happen every day. So for a busy professional who has so many outside forces and inside, whether it's internal forces or family related forces, how do you build those in? Like, what does maybe a typical day look like for you to ensure that we fit all those in?
So here's how you fit it in. And this is a very important point. It's about your mindset. When you walk through your day, you need to think about yourself. Think about this analogy. You're a dancer on the dance floor of life, and your day includes this dance, getting up, getting a cup of coffee, having some breakfast, kissing your kids goodbye, going to work, coming back home, watching a football game, going to bed, whatever it might be. That's the dance. You need to get into a mindset of thinking about yourself from the balcony, looking down on yourself on the dance floor, and always asking this question. Every single moment of the day, you're always looking through this lens of, what am I doing with this moment of time in my day? And does it contribute to these habits? So if you start, and so because most people just kind of stumble through their day and do whatever hits them. So their phone rings or their phone chimes and they immediately look at that text. Instead, thinking about, should I actually divert from what I'm doing now and look at that text? That's a minute out of your day. And you would be amazed at how much time you can create to do the things that are important if you just have a mindset of saying, I'm going to be deliberate about every second of my day. And so when as you're doing something deliberate and the phone interrupts it with a sound or a vibration, you ignore it because you are intentional with your mind about this dance you're going through in the day. Because if you just respond to all of the sensory impulses and inputs that happen in a technological world we live in, you will find yourself, if you could count the hours, and you have apps that can do that, you spent 6 hours on your phone and you didn't spend any time with your son or your daughter or working out or eating healthy or making time for friends and building connections, human connections that matter. You spent your time looking at a website, listening to a podcast that didn't matter. Now, there are good things, your meditation can be that. You can read things that are valuable, but most of it is junk. And most of it squanders your day, fritters it away, and you start adding up out over a lifetime, and you find that effective people that have changed the world were as busy as you are. They were just doing the right things, and they weren't wasting their time because they had a mindset of, is this the right thing to do? And you deliberately guide yourself through the dance floor by always being on the balcony and asking this question: is this the right thing to do at this right moment in my life? And if it's not contributing to my purpose or these things that make me effective, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to answer that phone. I'm not going to respond to that tweet. I'm not going to respond to that vibration where there's a text and I'm worried about who it is or curious.
What I love about your 5 pillars is that, they're all amazing pillars, but number 4 is be quiet, right? Is to find at least a couple of moments of solitude during your day and then build from there. But I can imagine that one of the things you can bring to prayer during those moments of solitude is perhaps, Lord, can you help me to recognize in each moment of my day when I'm straying from the path that I'm called to be on, when I'm not doing something that's the best that I can be today, or the most that I can be, or utilizing my talents. So within the pillars, you can also incorporate that prayer to help you stay on track in that balcony view, like you articulated so clearly.
Yeah, and they're a good tool. So, for example, what I decided to do this year is I'm going with Father Mike Schmitz through the Bible in a year. So that's 20 minutes every day where I close down my life from everything else, and I let him read me through the Bible, and then give me a little commentary at the end about the insights. So there's time where I can be quiet. And what you find is I am learning those habits God wants me to have in my life by listening to his instructions in the Old Testament, and then how that manifests in Jesus as the Son of the world coming to save us. So there's an example where you can actually use technology to your advantage, but you have to have that quiet time where you're not distracted, nobody can break in, and you are there with your God, your maker, reflecting on who you are and how you can be better at ushering God's will into this earth.
Exactly. I love it, Steve. Just a reminder to our audience, we're about to transition to questions from you, our audience. So you can start typing those in the comments section on any of the platforms you're on. So we'll turn to that shortly. Steve, I'm just thinking about how there are so many habits we could be working on. You listed 5 really great ones. But if I'm just to maybe start out today and say I'm not exercising, maybe I'm not eating as well as I should be, I don't have any quiet time, it's almost overwhelming to think about starting 5 new things at once. And research shows that we're unlikely to be successful trying to boil the ocean the first day we try and change habits. So what's your recommendation to make this small and actionable so that I can be successful in putting these into practice? Because I believe the research also has shown it takes at least 2 weeks, if not longer, of consistent use of a habit before it truly becomes almost second nature in that habitual way. Any recommendations for us?
Yeah, I've had this question, literally thousands of people in the military over my years that ask the same question, that, where do I start? And, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, but you also have to have the discipline of taking the second step and the third step. So there's a mental discipline that has to come with this, that you have to acknowledge that I have to be mentally disciplined and and stick to it. The dedication to stick to something that's going to change your life. But start with quiet. Start with quiet, even if it's just walking out of your door into your backyard where nobody else is and just standing there looking at the sky or the tree or the flower and just saying, God, help me. Help speak to me. Help me hear you. Help me open the door to my mind and my heart to be your servant. Just do that. And even if it's just 5 minutes. So this is the power of prayer, which is even greater than the power of habit. But these are connected. So start with a point in your day where you can, it doesn't have to be the same time every day, but oftentimes we're such creatures of habit that it is the same time every day. But dedicate a time to just be alone and ask God to intercede and pray that he will open your mind. And then that will start cascading the rest of it. I promise you.
Great.